Good morning. My name is Larry Fryrick, and I'm here at the Zaccheo Gallery in Manchester, Vermont. I have the pleasure this morning to be with Pierre-Henri Matisse, the famous artist, businessman, and philanthropist, and we'll explore Pierre's life and background as it relates to art this morning. Pierre, how are you today?
Fine, thank you. I'm delighted to be with you here today. You're an old friend, and I feel more comfortable to take two friends.
Great. So I thought we'd start by talking a little bit about where you were born and the part of France that you grew up in.
Right. Honestly, no, I don't. I am. I detour a little bit to your question. I am an artist because I'm too stupid to do anything else. However, the funny part is that I am born in Paris, who is considered one of the biggest cities devoted to art, and also. Not only that, but in the quartier des artistes. Paris has different area for specific trade. You know, the shoemaker here, the baker are there, and the artists are in Montparnasse. I was born in Montparnasse. And on the top of that, of course, from my mother, who was diplomed for the Beaux-Arts in Paris, and my father was a sculptor. So that's basically the story.
Now, Pierre, you're, as I understand it, you're the grandson of the famous painter Henri Matisse.
Yeah, that's correct, yes. Mm-hmm.
And how was your grandfather instrumental in developing your expertise, your interest in art?
Well, you know, I think that I was born with that desire to create art. And of course, I don't have much merit for that because I was living in an environment of milieu of artists. And all those people, I met a lot of very famous artists at the time, but to me, I had no idea they were famous. So my grandfather was like anybody else. I had no idea he was, you know, an artist. However, what was funny about him is that he had no time for nobody. Artists live a very demanding life because it requires a lot of time. Art eats you alive. And especially, he was a fanatic about his art. And he had no time for anybody else, so he was always working. And I heard that from other artists, you know, they work all the time. And I never met him but once when he had in his hand a brush, or a pencil and a smoke, you know, and he was working. And so when I saw him, I was interrupting him, you see. And so, except once, he used to live, of course, also, I live in Paris at the time, or in Spain, and he lived in Nice. So once in a while he will come in Paris. It's not like he was accessible, you know, close by me all the time. So once he came in Paris and he invited me with my brother, who is 3 years younger than me, unfortunately passed away a few years ago, and to a concert by Django Reinhardt. He loved music, so do I. However, he plays the violin very well. Me, I can't play nothing. And so I love Django Reinhardt. At the time he was very famous in his big star in France, before, 2 years before World War II. So he invited us there, and I was there, you know, Django Reinhardt, you know, I would have had time. I was, you know, about 9 years old at the time, and 9, 10. And then when the concert was over, he says to me, he says, do you want to meet Django Reinhardt? He's a friend of mine. Wow, you can access Django Reinhardt, speak to Django Reinhardt. I couldn't believe that. So I said to myself, he must be very famous.
What kinds of lessons did your grandfather teach you when it came to art? Were there any particular funny stories?
Right, it's a totally funny story. The thing is that he did not believe in teaching art. You learn on your own. However, he tried to break in to be accepted by the Beaux-Arts, and he flunked the exam a few times, and eventually he was given a few art lessons by one of the teachers of the Beaux-Arts, cut him by the back door, you know. And then he went to another great artist who was teaching at the time, I forgot his name. So that's how he came. But what he did, you cannot learned that by being taught. He believed that art could be learned, but could not be taught. Because what he was doing was experimental, there was no tricks, he was, well, no trick, I have something, there's something wrong there. He created things we have never done before. Who is going to teach you that? Even the technique. And so that's the story. And when I was about 12, 13, I was very interested in painting and drawing and things like that. And it has nothing to do with my parents. I did that because that's what I wanted to do. And so my mother realized that I could be serious about being an artist. So she gave me lesson because she was a very skilled artist herself. And she tried to teach me color. And come here, get out there, couldn't figure it out. To me, what she told me made no sense at all. So one day, and it's funny because they will send me to the paint store Sonnelier in Paris when I was living in Paris with my parents, and they were working for supplied. You go get such. They'll give me a note. You go get that. Come back with this, and then I will give me a few francs to buy paint for me. So I will go to the paint Sonnelier, nice paint art store, and there was all those tubes there. My idea was, if I had all those tubes, can you imagine what I could come up with? So that's the idea. So I was buying tube. I had a big collection of tube. Of course, when you don't know what the hell you're doing, the more tube you have, the big mess you do. And that's what I was doing. So my mother, one day she said, oh, your grandfather, he was in Paris at the time, because he was in Nice at the time. Once in a while he come to Paris. He has agreed to give you a color lesson. So, and you go to see him, Sunday, okay, so I go see him. So I had a shoebox with that size, with all my color. I knew, I had seen in his studio, that he didn't have that many color. Therefore, I was way ahead of the game. I was going to impress him. When he saw this color, he said, wow, this is a big artist, So I come with my box. So he said, okay, so I don't have much time. He said, show me that. Put that box there on the table. So he got one tube vermillon, one tube ultramarine, one tube white, and cadmium yellow. Three colors, yellow, blue, and red, and white. That's it. He says, no black. And he says, no, I confiscate all that box. You paint with those 4 tubes of paint, and I defend you, I prohibit you strictly to buy any other painting than those tubes. From then on, you paint with those 4 tubes. I get out of there. End of the lesson, real short. I said, he's old, he's batty, he's losing his marble. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. Okay. But, I said to myself, he's setting me for a fall there. But I'm going to show the old man I can do it anyway. That was the key. So I improved my stuff, because now I learned to mix color, I learned how to use those color well, and I did what he said to do. Eventually I referred to my bad habits, but it took some years. And for a long time I was painting with 15, 16, 17 color. And then one day I said, this is not going anywhere. And I went back to study color. I was in my 40s at the time. And I paint with only basically 3 color, but I have 3 yellow, 3 blues, and 3 red, and white. And once for what I do, for that depends, for another artist, another story. And basically that's what he was doing. I have studied the palette of different artists, and he is the one who use the less color of all. The sienna, for instance, well, dark color, earth color, well, relatively, they are very handy for certain things, but he was not using them. He used to call them shit. This is caca. In French, that's shit. So that was funny. So that's it. And
Pierre, when you were a child, did you have a chance? Did your grandfather introduce you to any of the other artists?
No, indeed never. But my parents they were a younger generation, and they were Picasso, Mayol, the sculptor, There was a guy, a gentleman who was doing comic for life, match by match, and then of course Picasso, Dali, you know. And so I met those people because they were coming to see my parents. They were talking. They were very interesting people, animated, big discussion, drinking wine, and Picasso had always a cigarette. You know, he's really funny. You know, big dark eyes. You know, and he used to teach me to swear in Spanish. Yeah, I spoke Spanish a little bit. I was raised partly in Spain, but I didn't learn to swear. So he taught me to. My mother was horrified. You know, not kill bad one like this.
Now, Pierre, your grandfather was very famous for a type of art called cutouts. Could you explain to us what cutouts are?
Right. Yeah. There is he designed his composition in painting with piece of paper that he will arrange, and eventually this led him, when he could not paint. Paint is fairly demanding. You know, you have to stand, or you have to stand like that, and he had a nasty operation of cancer in his stomach at the beginning of the war. And after that, he was basically, you know, bedridden or in a wheelchair or in a chair. He was fairly limited. So he devised that way to cut piece of paper. He had an assistant painting in color and applying them on a wall. He used to work very big. And so that's how he did those paper cut. Unfortunately, at that time, it was during the war, he was limited for supply, couldn't get pen, couldn't get paper, couldn't get glue. The museum who have those, inherited eventually those piece of art, have a terrible time protecting them against damage, archivality and things like that. But yes, they did that. And eventually, you know, I do drawing, photography, pastel, sumi, Japanese. I do a lot of different medium. And then one day I said, yeah, what kind of, yeah, it's intriguing, you know. So I do. The thing is that what we will have done if he didn't have the restriction that he had because of the short supply during the war, and so I find the good very best paper that he had, and glue that I basically with a hot pressing glue you don't have. I tried different glue, and eventually I developed a system. So I have one right. No, we don't. Yeah, we have one right there. They can zoom in on that. After that, the camera, they might be able to show one. So, and I'm basically, I think, the only one who do what we call paper cut. People do collage. It's a bit different. You know, they apply different things on the canvas. Me, it's pure paper. It's a very formal system. So here it is.
Now, Pierre, you grew up at a time of the war.
Right.
What did, you know? Could you tell us a little bit about the impact that the war had on your life and how that affected your art?
Right. And the war impacted everybody, all artists, one another. You cannot avoid that. The interesting thing about me is that I was raised by the generation who survived World War I. So my teacher, my educator, all the artists had been affected by the war, and some were in artillery, they lost the hearing, you know, and some was shell shock, had been wounded. Braque was wounded, you know, and my teacher were. Paris was full of wounded. We used to call them les gueules cassées, the broken face, you know, very bad. And so those people, they were worried about us because they knew there will be another war. They knew that World War I was just the appetizer. And Hitler was getting in power. You know, so you have a guy who was on the radio, and he harm, you know, and he said bad thing about his neighbor. This is not very good, you know. So, and eventually, well, like everybody predicted, World War II came. So I was 12 years old when it started. And my father told me, he says, I'm going to war. I might not come back. And you are not a child anymore. You know, it's the game, the playing, forget it, this is over for you. you're going to take care of your brother and your mother when I'm out. You're the man. And we were. We grew up real fast. The majority of European countries were involved in war depended on the teenager. They were too young to go to war, and some went very young, 15, okay, and the old people could not anymore because they were too old. And when the war ended, everything was demolished, everything has to be rebuilt. So you had people prisoner in other countries, greatly affected by the war, and teenagers were running factories. I mean, it was amazing what those kids were doing. And me, I was working, translating. I was speaking English currently, so I was translating between the occupying force of the Liberator, basically the British and the American, and the French authority, repatriating the refugees.
Did you serve in the military?
After the war, yes. I served 2 years in North Africa, in Algeria, and I was in a commando paratrooping outfit. France had trouble with Algeria. I was there at the time where big trouble before I came in a relatively quiet place, and when I left, whoosh, you know, everything went berserk. So I had a little taste of that. So, but what it did to me, because I was occupied by the Nazi for five years, our freedom was affected. Certain books were banned. Now, if you tell me I can't read that book, hey, that's the one I want to read. Don't tell me that, okay? And I love my freedom. And I do understand what freedom is. The freedom doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want. It means that within the limitation of not affecting anybody else badly, for your freedom, you can do what you want. Why? If it doesn't bother anybody, if I don't bother anybody, and I want to do what I want. And everybody should. And if it does, I do it unintentionally, I'm going to correct that, I'm going to negotiate. No, I didn't want to do that. And so we can live in harmony and in peace. That's what freedom is. But freedom is not arbitrary, you know, to be tyrannically, you know, subservient to a power and impose his domination on you. Wow, no way. I'll die to my death against that. And that's what we did.
So, Pierre, you've lived almost a century.
Right.
You're 87 years old.
Yes.
Has your perspective on freedom changed over time?
No, and you know, I left Europe in 1952. I was a young kid, I was 26, something like that. And because I was afraid of communists. I said, this is it now. We had Hitler, now we have Stalin. And the impact of communists in Western Europe was bad news. I said, hey, I'm getting out. I'm going with Uncle Sam, and I'm from America. I'm going to fight those guys. So I came here to support and participate in the protection and the defense of freedom, which America is a symbol for. America stands for a good world, living peace in harmony and peacefully, and be free, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I believe. The concept of this country is amazing. Historically, nothing like that has ever been done. And the American spirit of free enterprise, the generosity, the kindness of American is incredible. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, we give to the world. Okay, so and that's I didn't come here to be rich. I came for my children. I have 4 kids to live in a better world and pursue happiness. And America doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't. Why should it? But it guarantees you that you can do what you want within the limitation of not affecting anybody effectively, and then you pursue. You have a crack at succeeding. In other countries, you don't.
Now, Pierre, you've seen the impact of art on both adults and on children.
Right.
And over time, what have you observed about the interaction of art and children? Do you think that, you know, what is it? There's been a lot that's been written about art and critical thinking. What's your perspective?
Children are important. For a long time, I thought that art was a luxury. Who needs art? We need food, we need overhead, we need clothes. We don't need art. No, that's not true. I realized eventually, of course, we need all the necessity to survive. But once we have a belly full, we are clothes, we have a roof about our head, and we have $10 in our pocket, what do? Mankind turned to art. We are all artists. We are the only living species on this planet who create art. We are all artists. People don't know it, but they are. You know, people telling me, oh, I cannot draw a straight line. Neither can I. I use a straight rule to draw a straight line, okay? And there is not, look at the people, the way they shop, they look at the color, they look how it looks like. Every lady, they put something on their wall. If they buy flowers, you say, don't put it on the table. No. They put a nice vase and they arrange them. This is art. This is artistic. We love music, singing, literature. A monkey doesn't do that. So that's what. So it's important. Also, so we express our artistic personality, our artistic talent by decorating our home, by dressing. A lady who selects her dress, this is art. She's involved in art. She's artistically decorating herself. Okay, it's incredible. And now for the children, it's extremely important to teach them a modicum of art. They don't have to become artists. That's not what I'm selling here.
So why is it important for them?
It's important for one reason. You take a child, and because he's an artist, he doesn't know it, but he's an artist. And here's a piece of paper. You don't tell nothing. Take any kid, put a piece of paper, put pencil, a crayon. What is he going to do? Okay? Wow, that's it. Isn't it? Right away. He gets involved. So he has in his gene the ability to express himself, give him a musical instrument. What is he going to do? A piano? He's going to tap. A violin? He wants to play. Okay? So he wants to get involved. And what's going to happen, he's going to be frustrated because he's going to follow his nose. You're going to say, look at that, that guy does that. He has reached his level of high competence right here. So now, whatever he does, whatever it's writing, whatever it's music, whatever it's dancing, whatever it's arranging flower, whatever it's painting, he wants to do something nice to satisfy himself. And so he has a challenge, critical thinking. He starts thinking, how am I going to do that? How the hell does he do that? And once he has developed that system that is dormant in him, it just needs to be brought to life. That methodology of creating something help him learning other things. So once he has been introduced to art, and it's his cultural heritage. You teach a kid in 2 minutes, you say, look at that. 30,000 years ago, a man did those drawings in a cave, and you show him that. This guy had no teacher, no art class, no art supply, no public library, no museum, nothing, and he did that. That's what the kid is doing.
So do you think this is something...
Critical thinking.
Do you think this is missing just here in the States, or is it you think it's universal?
I don't know, it is in other countries. Okay, when I was in school in Europe, we had some modicum of art, teach them not much, but a little bit, but that was sufficient enough to do that. That was sufficient enough to get us involved and to get us thinking. Einstein said the purpose of education is not to learn anything, it's to learn to think. Because once you learn to think, you can use that and you can learn anything.
So you've been very passionate about this. In fact, you've developed a course and gone into elementary schools and have actually taught children.
Absolutely.
What do you think? What's happened? What's your impressions of after you've taught this class? What are your thoughts about what they come away with? Have you seen the impact of this?
Yes, I've heard school where I went there 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I made an impression, which I had no idea. And they remember that. And you know, in your life, my life, everybody's life, you have incidents in your life who are trivial, who is very little. It happened to any human being. Somebody else says something, do something, and it rests inside you for the rest of your life. And that's what it does. And Churchill painted. Not as they grow up, you give them a gift. If they become successful at other things, Bush paint. Churchill, as I said, painting. A lot of famous people. It relieved them. It's very good. It's very good therapeutic, because when you paint or you draw or you express yourself artistically in anything, I don't care what it is, you enter. You talk about freedom. Now you have total freedom, because now as long as you bang on the drum and you make noise and you bother the whole neighborhood. But if you do something that doesn't do any difficulty to other people, when you have paper, as long as you don't paint on the wall and your mother is going to scream blue murder, you can do what you like. No restriction. No doesn't exist in the art world. It's yes, you can do anything. And we did. Human being did. Created incredible thing. Look at the Statue of Liberty. Okay, we did. Look at the pyramid. Human being did those things. Okay, so it's fantastic, and it opened the door to those kids. Okay, now when they see, it linked them to that. Here is a child who knew nothing about the caveman. Suddenly, he realized, hey, that guy was in a cave. Hey, can you imagine? And he did that. It struck them. So you bring their attention to that. Without you telling them, they might not know, or they might find them themselves. But a guy like me who told those kids, hey, why don't you look at that? You know, it seed something who is going to rest with him the rest of their life, and is going to help them the rest of their life. He gives them the key to learn a lot of things, because critical thinking, the process of analyzing things, and wanted to do something, frustration, they fall, they fail. You want them to fail, because now I fail. We don't like to fail. So I'm going to succeed. So I'm going to work like hell. Now they learn discipline, they learn working, they learn all kind of things come up in the picture. So it's like breaking the sound barrier. A new world open to them, who is going to serve them all their lives and change them all their life. Appreciate art, appreciate all sorts of beauty, flower. I'm amazed, I sell art to truck driver. People that will say, oh, those people are barbarian, they have no education. This is bullshit. Every human being is sensitive to art. Everybody. And we are here in an extraordinary gallery with beautiful, all kind of art from hundreds of artists. And John Zacchio there, I don't pronounce his name pretty well, I have to be careful with
John
that.
Zacchio.
Zacchio, here you go, thank you so much. And he's a dear friend of mine, and you come to a gallery like that, bring children to a gallery, little kid, babies. You bring a baby here 3 months, you know what he's going to do? Like that. I've experienced that, I couldn't believe it. Okay, so it does something good. Art is good for us.
Pierre, you've had a lot of years to form impressions and to absorb society and culture.
Right.
If you look back on all those years,
yes,
are there a couple of things that you're very passionate about that you'd like to communicate out to society, whether they be country issues, political issues,
right,
feelings personally about society in general?
Absolutely, absolutely. I will lay my life, and plenty of people did, for exactly to achieve what you just said there. What are we so bad in our species that we kill each other, we bomb each other, we devise Machiavellic machinery to exterminate each other? What do we do that? And we have so many extraordinary people. And we had great people who did soldier, MacArthur. MacArthur beat the Japanese. We throw atomic bomb. We fight like the devil each other. We made friends with them. We turned them into friends. MacArthur did that. He went there, he did not offend them, and we turned them into friends. We destroyed Germany because of Adolf Hitler. It was evil, a bad thing. They are friends. They want, and we want, I want to stay friends. So this is what we have achieved. I like to be called the artist of peace and love. Peace and love is essential. Freedom, peace and love. Freedom is essential to human beings. We need to be free so we can express ourselves freely, create freely, love freely, build freely, prosper freely, which help each other. And we have to develop in our species those qualities. The discipline, love. When we love, we don't want to do any harm to other people. Unfortunately, if I see somebody being hurt, it hurts me. It hurts you too, I know, because you're a good person. And so we have to, this planet, if we continue the way we are doing, we are going to destroy ourselves. We have now mean to destroy ourselves completely. Are we going to find out a solution to be all loving to each other, good to each other, to prosper all in peace and solve our problem, whatever the problem are? Well, let's work together. We got a problem. Okay. Oh, I piss you off. Okay, you piss me off. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, Larry is a bad guy. So we quiet that down and we talk. And we laugh at our mistake. We laugh at our fault, and eventually we compromise, and we're good friends.
Pierre, if you had one wish for society, what would that be?
That everybody love themselves. This is the essence. And we need qualities. We need to be loving. We need to be disciplined. Our children have to be raised to be disciplined, respect their elders, and not screw things like drug and things like that. We need to create a good society. And we have to, people like my age, that's what we should be doing. We should pass to and of course you have children, I have, and when I was raised, my father turned the screw on me, because I was a little pain in the ass when I was a child, and running into trouble. But he taught me discipline. He taught me discipline and then ethics, works ethics, discipline, and to be charitable. And I taught this to my kids too. So we have to, that's what we have. You and I, our job is to educate pass on to the next generation who are going to take our place to be better than us. If I teach you to art, I want you to be better an artist. I want you to be a better artist than me. I taught my kid, hopefully, and they are, by the way, to be better than me.
I think that's a wonderful aspiration, Pierre.
I know it's crazy, okay, but that's what we got to do.
We can all try.
We can try.
On that note, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. I'd like to thank the John Zacchio Gallery for permitting us to bring to you the life and message of Pierre-Henri Matisse and allow him to share a little bit of his life with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.